Ever feel like you suck at this job? Motherhood, I mean. Have too much anxiety and not enough patience? Too much yelling, not enough play? There's no manual, no village, no guarantees. The stakes are high. We want so badly to get it right. But this is survival mode. We're just trying to make it to bedtime. So if you're full of mom guilt, your temper scares you, you feel like you're screwing everything up, and you're afraid to admit any of those things out loud, this podcast is for you. This is Failing Motherhood. I'm Danielle Bettman, and each week we'll chat with a mom ready to be real, sharing her insecurities, her fears, her failures, and her wins. We do not have it all figured out. That's not the goal. The goal is to remind you, you are the mom your kids need. They need what you have, you are good enough, and you're not alone. I hope you pop in earbuds, somehow sneak away, and get ready to hear some hope from the trenches. You belong here, friend. We're so glad you're here. Hey, it's Danielle, your positive discipline certified parenting coach for strong-willed kids ages 2 to 10. I help defeated parents find validation, support, and proven techniques to parent their strong-willed kids with composure, connection, confidence, and cooperation through a 4-month group coaching program based on the wholehearted framework I've developed over years of working with families one-on-one. And if you've just found the podcast, go to failingmotherhood.com to view a playlist of our most listened to episodes, as well as where to start if you have a strong-willed child. Now, I don't know where you're at in the world, but right now we are in the swing of back to school. We started a week ago now. I know it fluctuates between like early August to early September, or you might be in all-around school, or you might be homeschooling. Who knows? But one thing all parents of strong-willed kids can relate to is after-school restraint collapse, which is when you pick them up after they have held it together all day long, had a million things asked of them, had a lot of big reactions and emotions and opinions that they kept subdued all day. And then the second they either lock eyes with you or get in the car, they collapse, they fall apart, and all of the big emotions come out on you because you are safe to them. You resemble finally being able to be safe enough to be their full selves, and they are ready to vent. They are ready to get it off their chest. They want to feel heard and supported and fall apart, which if we had nothing else to do in life, we would love to be there for them during this. But we might be also running errands. We might be also picking up another sibling who gets very triggered or irritated by their restraint collapse. You might have had a long day yourself. There's a lot of other things going on. And so I had a client last week ask me about, what to do to help make this transition into home, into dinner easier, because it felt like it was absolutely impossible pulling teeth. And if that's something that's happening at your house, you are absolutely not alone. And for you to be strategic during this time of day is very worth considering. So what I recommended to them, I'm going to recommend to you today, starting with the drive to pick them up. Game face. Your favorite pump-up music, 90s music, early 2000s, whatever you love, let yourself get in the zone on the way there, expecting adversity, not being surprised by it, not thinking every day is just not going to be the same as the last. You know your kid, and you know the time of year you're in. They are exhausted. They are hangry. They are ready to need you at the fullest capacity when you pick them up. So get ready for it. Only you can prepare yourself for it. Game face. Okay? Then, when they are getting into the car, they are going to act like they are angry at you, act like you have never done anything right in your whole life. They are going to take all their frustrations out on you. Now, they have full permission to feel those emotions, and of course, not full permission to act on them. They can be mad, sad, disappointed, frustrated, and not harmful. But know that that reaction and what is happening in this moment is not personal. It's actually a great sign. It's supposed to be a compliment. I know, backhanded compliment, but it really is a compliment. They know that they are safe enough to let it all out with you, and you are always going to be there for them, and there's nothing that they could say that would change that. And so you do have a lot of pressure on you, though, to deal with that inevitable stress of that big emotional bell curve up and down and that level of intensity that you're met with in that moment. So when you notice this pattern, or before school even starts, if you have that opportunity still, come up with a plan with your child so that they know what to expect when they get in the car, where you can maybe ask them, would you like me to bring a snack, or would you like to eat a snack at home, if that's something you're comfortable with offering? Would you like to listen to music on the way home, or just sit in silence? Would you like me to ask you 2 questions in the car, or wait till we get home? Would you like to bring something in the car to make you feel more comfortable, to have something to do, whether it be a book or a stuffed animal or, a road trip toy? Only, of course, offer the choices that you are comfortable offering as their parent, whatever works best for your family, but come up with a plan. And that way you at least have a foundation to build upon where they know what is predictable, what is reassuring, and what they can know to expect, which allows them to mitigate any anxiety for that point in day that they're already going to be dysregulated in, already going to be waiting for the last straw to send them over the edge. Now, some kids, when you pick them up, especially if it's early preschool days, kindergarten year, first month of school, then they are going to be even combative. They might be kicking the back of your chair. They might be throwing something on the ground. They might be yelling and kind of, very volatile, in a very volatile state. And school is exhausting. Know that they did their absolute best to follow their teacher's directions, to make friends, to do all the things that you have taught them to do, where they do know what is acceptable there, and they're code switching. And it's not that they think it's acceptable with you or that they think it's okay. They are so dysregulated that they know better and can't do better in that state. They are genuinely hitting that wall. And they really do need you to be able to see them as waving a white flag that says, help me help myself right now. I don't got this. And you have to be confident enough that you are not triggered or taking it personally enough to be able to say, hey, I can see you're struggling. I'm here to help. Now, that still doesn't mean that they're allowed to kick your chair all the way home, right? But you want to start to meet them where they're at. And one way that I have found to be really effective for that with my daughter, who kind of gets into the state a lot, even still, is really being able to join her in the commiseration of finding the negative and staying in the negative. So if she's saying, school's the worst, it was a bad day. All right, tell me the worst part. What was the worst part of the day? Or what did somebody do that really made you mad today? Because you're basically lofting a softball for them to knock out of the park. Start with the bad. Oh, did somebody break a rule today? Did somebody, embarrass themselves or embarrass you? Or what did your teacher do today that, really disappointed you or surprised you and, wasn't the plan? That's a springboard for them to kind of place all of that combative energy into, where now you're just commiserating on the same team with a shared enemy. What? You were supposed to have a cookie with your cheese pizza and instead they gave you salad? How dare they? Right? You're going to be mad at that thing with them. That channels such a level of solidarity that exudes safety. That says, now let's make this random anecdote from your day a scapegoat so that we are on the same team, on the same page, and we can start that conversation moving forward into something more productive. Now, you're still not going to follow it up with questions like, what was the best part of your day? Or what are you really proud of yourself? Or how many friends did you make? Or anything that feels too cupcakes, rainbows, butterflies, because that's too far of a leap for them to make. And if it is something that they are proud of, that's a very vulnerable emotion. These kids have a very quick shame trigger. And so you want to be delicate about being able to calm those defense mechanisms rather than set them off. So then you're going to start to maybe ask about something more objective, more factual. So that might be, if they're comfortable with silence, great, sit in silence. But this is if they are still throwing out unfounded energy, whether that's, combative physically or just verbally, then you're going to move into those more factual questions. Oh, so, okay, what did you eat? Were you hungry for that today? Did you have recess today? I know it was really hot. Oh, did you sit with so-and-so at lunch? Oh, no, you sat with the other friend? Okay. Did you have art today? I can't remember if that's an art day. Because they are going to be able to then actually access their memory, which is a closer part, like a more sophisticated part of their brain. If they're trying to recall things that aren't emotional-based triggers, then they're going to start to bring in more logical, analytical, objective thinking, getting their brain piece by piece, step by step, question by question back online. Still doesn't mean they're going to be super excited to see you maybe, but you're being able to get a much more productive conversation going where they might be calming their body while they're thinking about the answers to your questions. And of course, they're not going to be questions that are trying to trap them or, have any other alternative purpose, but just showing genuine, authentic curiosity about their day, right? So you're asking questions one at a time, really focused on some of the facts about their day. Oh, okay, so your teacher read 3 books. Were there any of the books that we had read maybe at the library or do we have at our house? Anything that is really actually tangible and factual rather than emotional. That's going to be able to get you to a place where eventually, maybe at the dinner table, maybe at bedtime, that's when they're going to be ready to share more of the positive emotion-based questions and more of their thoughts about their actual reflection on the day of something that made them happy, they were proud of, or they were excited about, or that went well. And that's when you're going to be able to ask them more about, who they played with to calm your fears about their, social life or be able to get into more of their head. But don't let that initial negativity and that negative outlook and that, glass is half empty type mentality that they come into the car with. Don't jump to too many conclusions where that makes you think they are not safe at school for any reason, or that they're not making friends, or that they're not having fun, or that it's not the right school for them. Because every strong-willed kid I have met is always going to share their negative assessment first when non-verbally throughout their day, maybe even I was their teacher, and maybe you were there too, and they were at Disney World with you, and they had all these non-verbal, things that made you think, wow, they are enjoying this. They are having fun. And then when you ask them, how was the day at Disney World, they'll say, I didn't get to see that character in the parade, so it was a bad day. Now, don't believe them. I know that sounds crazy to say don't believe your child, but don't just jump to a whole bunch of assumptions and conclusions. Take them at their word, but also act on what you know to be true, which is they did have a lot of fun today. And believe they are probably making friends. They are having a lot of fun throughout the day. Let me check in with their teacher for maybe a more accurate assumption and read on things. But just know if they experienced any adversity, that is going to be the thing that stays on the top of their radar. In the same way as maybe their strong-willed parent fixates on the one negative aspect of their day when they yelled at their child rather than all of the positives that they could also give themselves credit for. Sound familiar? So you are also going to support them by maybe bringing a snack because there is a big opportunity where they probably didn't eat a lot of lunch if they were socializing, or pay a lot of attention to the cues from their body from the day, so they're all going to hit at once. So if you're comfortable with it, find something that they can eat in the car. Offer silence if they're open to it. Some kids really do thrive with being able to just kind of tune out on the way home. Some kids are going to need you to really meet them where they're at and pull them one step forward along the way, holding their hand. You know your child. Figure that out of how to regulate their nervous system best. And then if you have a kid I have this moment stuck in my head where I was driving home from school and forgot a snack. And my daughter was losing her mind, just so hungry, so tired, so overwhelmed, just losing it. And so I just kept kind of asking, hey, are you so hungry that you would eat a full watermelon right now? And she would be like, yeah. Are you so hungry that you could eat a whole bag of gummy worms? Yeah. Could you eat 3 bags of gummy worms? How many bags of gummy worms could you eat right now? And she was like, 100 billion. And I was like, oh, I bet so. Are you so hungry that you could eat a rubber shoe? And she'd be like, no. So are you hungry enough that you would eat 13 hard-boiled eggs? She's like, no. And we just played that game all the way home. And it was the only way that I stayed sane, was just continuing to have my improv hat on as a parent and run with it with a yes and, so that I continued to basically lay the path forward for her to channel that energy into. Otherwise, it was just going to splatter on the wall and crash and burn. So once we got home, we had laughed a bunch about all these ridiculous things that she probably wouldn't eat or would eat, or how crazy it would get. And we got her a snack and we survived. So keep that one in the back of your pocket. But I think the hardest thing to navigate is channeling that energy into something else. And one way that I found that has really, really changed the game for a lot of clients is using kids' podcast episodes to play after school, where you're going to just have a plan as a family of, okay, we're going to listen to an episode every day after school. And we're just going to play the next one, as soon as we say hi to each other. And if you have not found a podcast for kids that your kid really responds well to, I highly urge you to try a few out. And I'm going to put some recommendations in the show notes. But if you can just hit play and tell everybody in the car, if you have more than one kid in the car, to look out their own window and focus on the episode, that is going to channel that energy into another outlet that prevents a lot of sibling rivalry, a lot of just behaviors coming from irritability, and preventing the boredom that when they don't have something else to do, they find things to do that are unhelpful. So if you can be proactive and preventative rather than reactive, you're going to find something that works for you in the car as an alternative to focus them to of what you want them to do instead, and then ride that energy into home with more peace of mind and calm in the car, especially if you have siblings in the car that you're picking up. You have to you have to tell them something to do other than pick on each other, pester each other, call each other names, find insane things to argue about. Believe me, I've been there 1,000 times. I'm right there with you. You know what I'm talking about. You have to ask yourself, what exactly do I want them to do instead? Or what can I offer them as 2 other positive outlets that they might be interested in to take their mental energy right now that are not an ultimatum, but just 2 other ways to go about what they want to do in a way that is way more sanity giving for everyone. And I highly recommend maybe a podcast episode, maybe an audiobook, listening to another chapter of an audiobook, and just hit play on that on the way home, and everybody just sits in silence and listens to that. I know if you haven't tried it, you may be skeptical, but I guarantee there's going to be something really fun that you guys really enjoy listening to. My kids really loved the National Geographic Greeking Out. They also listen to podcast episodes at school sometimes when everybody's eating lunch. And so there's Smash Boom Best, or ones where they basically pit 2 things against each other and see who will win. Like, factually wise, would a shark beat a tiger? I mean, things like that. That's going to hold their attention. It's something they're interested in. that's going to buy you so much time until their nervous system just kind of regulates again, and you can move into the night with a lot more energy for you to give rather than burning out 20 minutes into the weeknight. I hope that gives you at least a few ideas, strategies, and insight to work with those after-school moments for your family. And if you need more than that, then go ahead and find the free masterclass that's always in the show notes, Calm and Confident. That is your ticket to finding a lot more patience. And you need to be able to find a level of communication and understanding of working with the way your child's wired that allows you to have the peace in your day that you deserve. I'm here for you. I'm so glad you're here. I believe in you, and I'm cheering you on. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Failing Motherhood. Your kids are so lucky to have you. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot right now and share it in your Instagram stories and tag me. If you're loving the podcast, be sure that you've subscribed and leave a review so we can help more moms know that they are not alone if they feel like they're failing motherhood on a daily basis. And if you're ready to transform your relationship with your strong-willed child and invest in the support you need to make it happen, schedule your free consultation using the link in the show notes. I can't wait to meet you. Thanks for coming on this journey with me. I believe in you, and I'm cheering you on.